So the first strategy I want to share is we really want to highlight what your child is doing well. 10 out of 10 times when a student comes to us and we go to them and we say, hey, tell us, let's celebrate something that's happened this week or in the last 24 hours, 10 out of 10 of them will always say, I got an A, I got 100%. They will always show an outcome, right? What the trophy was at the end of their journey, right? So it's always, usually, 95% of the time, it's always a grade related to an academic grade. And we really encourage our students to pay attention to what helped them to get that A. So to really focus on what they did, the journey to help them get that A. By focusing on their journey, we're not celebrating the outcome, we're celebrating their efforts and their character, right? So you really persevered through creating a study plan and stuck to it even though you did not want to, right? So we focus on highlighting, being really specific about what character trait we're highlighting in them and what they did. That is going to begin to reframe their perspective on themselves. They'll begin to notice much more the steps that they are taking to get that final outcome, and they will begin to generalize that into other areas of their life. So, they landed the trick. That's something we want to celebrate. That's amazing. They've been trying for so long, so we want to tie that back to a character trait. So, you were really brave in attempting that flip one more time, even though you were worried that you were going to not land it. Or I saw you not land that trip 7 times, yet you persevered and were determined and you finally landed it, right? So they will begin to apply what you're telling them into other areas of their life, and they'll begin to define themselves in a different way. So I'm not about getting the A. I am a student who works really hard and asks questions and practices before my tests and keeps my cool the night before the test, right? So all of these things are going to help them begin to identify themselves in a different way. The second one is we want to really avoid checking in and asking the same questions over and over again. And this is really difficult for us because we are so worried that if we don't check in, X, Y, and Z will not get done. But the message we are sending our children here is, I do not trust that this will get done, right? And so therefore, I need to step in to help you. Or they will think they are incapable of doing this on their own. And so that is why they learn to rely on you and depend on your reminders. So it's almost like a double-edged sword because not only are they relying and depending on you, but now you have built some anxiety around this where if I don't check in with them, then things will not get done. And so therefore, to relieve my anxiety, I need to check in with them. And the more you do that, the more and more that anxiety will build, which is really something we want to be cautious on both ends, right? So really want to, instead of asking them over and over again, we want to transmit to them that you believe in them and that they do have the capabilities and the ability to do X, Y, and Z on their own. So if you think, when my husband, if I ask him to take out the trash, I'm not going to continue to ask him. I'm just going to say, let me know, if I notice he's not remembering, I can come to him and say, I'm noticing you're not remembering to take out the trash on Wednesdays. What would help you here? Or what can we do together so that you remember? For a child, it can be, hey, look, I don't want to continue to ask if you've emailed your teacher about this. Why don't you come to me after you've emailed her, just so that I know that it's been done and I'm not thinking about it anymore, right? That way, you put the ball in their court, you give them space to try to figure out how they're going to solve things on their own, and then if something is not done, you have a plan of how you are going to manage it afterwards. And then the third one that I've listed here, we want to ask questions before offering a solution. So students often will just say a sentence and they're not even asking for help, but we will immediately jump and begin to offer our solutions, right? So they have a conflict with a friend, we would jump in like, this is what you should be doing. Or they need help on a homework, we jump in and begin to help them with before they even ask us. Before we jump in and rescue them, first of all, we also want to be cautious of asking them questions before offering them the solution, because the brain is going to develop how it's used. And if we give them the solution to everything, their brain will not build the skills to problem solve anything. Or they will not trust themselves that they are capable of solving things, because they've always come to you to help them solve an issue. So we want to get them comfortable with using the brain regions that help them to problem solve, so that they can navigate life's bumps and begin to learn to rely and trust themselves with having, trying their solutions. So we can share our suggestions with them, but we don't want to start with them, right? So of course, you've lived more, we have more experience, you're going to know more of some things. But we don't want to start with those solutions. Give them space to try to figure things out on their own. Of course, we never want to leave them in the dark, right? We want to offer our support and see if they take it. So if a student comes to me or us and they say, I need help with my math homework, I'm like, all right, well, what sort of resources does your teacher have for you? Again, I'm asking them a question that's going to get them to begin to learn how to problem solve. When it's a solution that comes from internally, they are much more likely to use that same solution the next time. When we give them the solution, it's very passive. It's not, their brain isn't as active. And so the likelihood that they will remember to do this again is pretty low. So we want to, again, really fire up the regions of the brain that are going to help them to problem solve. So again, we shared 3 solutions with you. One was really highlight their character traits, not the outcome, but what did they do to get to the outcome. Number 2 was try to avoid asking questions over and over again. Give them space to practice on their own and have a plan for how you guys can check in with each other. And number 3 is ask questions before offering a solution.